This video is a quick video that will show you how to use sliders to help with your Desmos project. So here is mine so far. Let me turn the picture back on. And let's say I want to come up with an equation to represent the neckline of his shirt right here. And I'm going to think that it's a parabola. So again, I could try, looking for a vertex and plotting points that way, or another way is to use sliders, which you've seen in a couple of the Desmos activities that we've done so far. So the basic equation of a quadratic, and again, I'm only using it for a quadratic here, you can use it for any function, is y equals x squared, and then we can put our parameters in here to stretch and shrink it and to translate it left and right. But I can also add sliders, which are just variables out front that represent our stretching, shrinking, and movement. And we can call those, now in mine I have a lot listed already, so normally I would call my first one maybe A out front. I actually can't use A because I'm calling it something else in a different part of this picture, so I'm going to call mine just A sub 1, but you could go ahead and call yours A or P or whatever you want. So that's going to represent the stretch and shrink. Now if I put parentheses around the X, and I'm going to use my H and K, but again, you should be able to just use H. I have H being used somewhere else, so I'm going to call it H1. And again, notice when I add these in here, it says this add a slider in there. And then I'm going to add one more, my K, but again, I'm going to call mine K sub 1, just because I have K somewhere else in this photo. And then when I go ahead and press all, so if you want to add sliders, they should be appearing below here. If they're not, that means, like for example, you wouldn't use X as a slider because that's a variable. If they're not showing up here, that means somehow they're being used somewhere else in the picture. Now when I press all, right, if you notice what happens below, let me slide down here, sliders, haha, is my A1, my H1, and my K1 all appeared. And now, just like we did in that other Desmos activity, you can sit here and move your parabola and play around with it. So I probably would want to move it to the right a little, and then I'm going to move it down, so that's going to go into the negative numbers. I might want to move it a little bit more to the right. And I don't know if a parabola is what fits perfectly for his shirt edge, but this might be an option for some of you if you're really stuck, you're trying to fit a specific function in there, but you're having a hard time doing it. So let's see, let me move it over just a little bit more and maybe make it a little wider so my A is going to get a little bit smaller. Right, so it's not the greatest in here, but that's how you could use a slider. I definitely have a good part of my function right here. And so now I know if I definitely want to use this as my function, just the right part of his shirt opening, I could restrict the domain. I probably would want to come up here and change my A1 to 0.3, change my H2 4.5, and change my K to negative 2.8 so that I don't have sliders, variables all over the place, right? You're going to start to run out of letters to call everything if you do everything by sliders. But that's just another way of coming up and manipulating equations. And again, all you need to do is type in your basic function and then put in variables to represent different stretching or shrinking or moving up and down.